How did that just feel?
That was cool. We did one of those.
Yeah. Well, go on. It's right there. That's right.
Take two.
All right, stop it.
No.
I'm kidding.
It was organic. Just for context, for those of you watching this, this is our very first time where this is being recorded live, and we have a producer in the studio with us. Thank you, Cody, for doing what you do. No one can see you right now.
So this is the first ever episode that won't be edited.
Yes, that's right. What you're seeing is exactly what we're saying, right. Which is mildly terrifying for us.
It is a bit scary.
What are we going to say that is going to...
Because we usually just start by chatting, and then eventually we're let's start. Yeah. And then we'll just do the intro.
Yes.
And then everything before that will get edited away into the...
Out into
epoch.
the ether. Yes.
Yep.
The epoch.
I don't know.
Did you mean ether?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. This historic period of time. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. This is also the first episode of 2025 for us. We tried to do this last week. We had some technical difficulties. We thought we recorded it, but it turns out that what went up was only part of it, and not all of the message got out there. So I think it's probably appropriate for us to start by giving you a little bit of a explanation as to what's happening with ADT this year. So there's a few different things. So number one is we're moving to this unedited or live format. The other thing is that we're going to be adding some new features to the show, because at our core, what we really want to see people doing is getting together and having the conversations like we're having. We want you to have the experience that we have, because this has been super valuable to us as, for spiritual growth, for friendship and all that over the years. It's been awesome. But we want that to happen for you guys too. And so we're really going to be measuring the success of what we're doing here by how many of you are enjoying the same thing. So what we would love to do would be to have we're going to start asking you guys, if you have a group of people that you do this with, take a selfie, send it to us, because we would love to add that to the wall. We'll put a photo up, and if you guys would like to send in a message or a voice memo or whatever, and just introduce yourselves or something like that, we would love to highlight you guys. But we think of you as if this is AusTableTalk, we think of you as the table tribe. So we want to hear more from you and hear how this is impacting your life when you're doing it in your context.
Yeah, because for us, this is really just a small group Bible study that we have, and we record it.
Yeah.
Recording it definitely makes it a better conversation, but it's like a weekly small group Bible study that we do together, and we record it and let everyone listen to it. So if there's more people out there just having a small group Bible study where they get together, they have the deep conversations, they ask the questions.
Even if you're not recording it.
And they happen to be listeners. Awesome.
Yeah. That's right. Welcome to the tribe.
Tell us about it. That's right.
Yes.
Yep. We want to start a movement.
Yeah, 100%.
Fist in the air movement.
Playing it safe.
Yeah.
Table tribe. Yeah, fist in the air. That's right.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're going to play with some extra segments to the show as well. Like something that we find ourselves doing when we get together. We'll often have conversations that'll pop up like, hey, I saw this video, or did you see this reel or this TikTok or whatever? And so I thought...
TikTok's banned.
Yeah, TikTok's banned. Not in Australia. Well, actually, not even in America anymore.
Yeah.
Is it back already?
They got 90 days.
Overnight. They didn't even get to breakfast.
He did everything overnight.
Yeah.
He was signing executive orders before he'd even left the place where he got inaugurated.
Yeah.
He doesn't muck around, but anyway.
Yeah, it was right out there. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so one of the things I thought could be fun would be for just us to have a segment where if any of us have come across anything that's cool or interesting that's, like real length, like something that's not super long, then we could share it and react to it collaboratively. One of the other things that we want to do is have tribe tales. So something from you guys, if you've experienced something, or God did something in your life, or whatever it is that you might want to share on the show. If you send it in to us, you can send to hello@austabletalk.com.au. You can email it to us. But if you do that, then we may include it in the show. So that's another thing that we'll probably be doing a little more of. So that's a start. That's kind of give us a little bit of context. So before we do go any further, so like, tell me, like, what about the last week or so? Like, how have you guys been?
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
Really, you've been totally great. Nothing bad has happened. You've had a clean bill
There's
of
been
health.
a few events have transpired this week. I gashed my hand open with a machete and cut through.
You want to hold that up to a camera? Just,
Which one?
whichever
All
one.
of them.
My camera.
Yeah.
I cut it open pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a long cut, so it doesn't look like much, but it went very deep.
Yeah. So it was laughing at you.
Yeah, it opened up like a set of lips.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of blood. But I cut the bad part is I cut deep through one of the muscles that goes to both of my pointer finger and my middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't really make a fist. I can't really grab anything tightly, but it's healing very quickly, very, very quickly. So yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had
Very cool.
we were in the emergency room for 8.5 hours, something like that. And I got home and went to sleep about half an hour before my alarm for work went off to wake up.
Did you go to work?
No, I didn't go
I
to
was
work.
going to say.
I went
dude.
to sleep. I messaged my boss on the drive back. I said, "Here's what happened. I'm going to call you when I wake up." And I called him at like 12 when I woke up. Yeah.
Yep.
And I only woke up because of the heat.
Yeah.
I would have slept longer.
And what was his response to that exactly? You calling him at 12? Like,
Go
back to bed?
No, I think he messaged me and asked me where I'd left something.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like didn't even acknowledge.
Yeah. It's just,
It was just like, where did you put the bag of clips for this or whatever? I was like, I think it was here.
Thanks, boss.
yeah.
Anyway.
That's cool.
So,
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, not heaps. Just chipping away at the house. Today was a stinking hot day though.
It was.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
Really hot.
Yeah, my chain and I were in the sticks and made a bad call that we should just there was a couple of corners only 400 meters apart, and we only had to go to 2 of them, so I only had to walk about a K. I'm like, instead of driving like 5Ks all the way around and then driving up the gully and then we still had to walk up the hills. I'm like, oh, we'll just push on. And he was like, yeah, whatever. Go to the top of the second hill and yes.
Yeah, wow.
Dying. And I was wet all day. I've never sweated so much. Just literally wet. Anyway, it was gross. It was gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then we went and stuck our heads in a creek. So that was nice. But
Yep.
yeah.
Sounds pretty necessary.
It was a hot day, but it was still a pretty good day.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, pretty average week. Just yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Me, a couple of things this week. I started exercising again. I haven't for a while. Like, I mean, I've been running on and off, but like as far as like actually like working out, like just doing it at home with kettlebells, like nothing super complex. But everything when I move, everything hurts now. So
Yeah. That's exercising.
Yeah. I've done it twice this week.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I know.
You gotta either always do it or never do it.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't do like 1 week on, 2 weeks off.
No.
It's like the worst.
Yeah, it's terrible. So like my commitment that I've made to myself is a minimum of 3 times a week, and not like a really long set, like 20 to 30 minutes max, but like I'm just committing.
Yep.
Absolutely must be 3 times a week. So yeah, there's that. I feel like my life stories always entail business or worky stuff. Just know that there's lots of that going on. I'm just restraining myself from like going into all of the detail that would bore
nitty-gritty.
most people, but is like thrilling and exhilarating to me. So, but yeah, no, it's pretty good otherwise. So we actually have Lily. For those of you that remember Lily from last season, end of last year. So she was on the show for one episode. So you'll probably start hearing a bit more from her because she has actually moved to Bundaberg now. So
Cool.
so it'd be cool to have her visit.
She's been on the podcast.
Yeah. She was once.
Why isn't she in here with us right now? She's in the house.
Oh, I know you should. you tell her off next time you see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's showering. So.
All right. So it's been pretty much it. So before we get to the topic, because the topic that is going to be actually going on this video when the stream goes out is we're going to be talking about how do we spiritually grow, because I thought that was an appropriate thing coming into the new year. Our first episode, I want to grow. I think you guys want to grow. So,
absolutely.
Let's talk about that in just a minute. But before we do, I wanted to do the social media reaction section, and for want of a better term, I'm going to call it Reels and Feels.
Reels and Feels, I love it.
I like it, Steve.
Sorry, I'll cringe over here.
You can
myself.
cringe over there by yourself.
You don't have kids yet. We like it.
Yeah, we can sit on that high horse for a little longer.
We're dads.
Yeah, that's right. We don't have to be cool anymore. It's thoroughly past.
You're on your ponies over there.
But we have shining armor. Yes. So I earmarked 2 reels to be shown, and one is just for laughs, just to kind of show you the kind of stuff that shows up a lot in my algorithm. And the other one is one I actually think is genuinely cool. So maybe let's start with the one that I don't necessarily think is genuinely cool. So this is, here we go. Thank you, Cody.
The maestro.
Yes, this is the first time we're actually being able to cut to anything, which is pretty cool. Oh, actually, you know what?
The internet's too slow.
No. This is you guys coming along with us for troubleshooting. Hey, Cody, just in the top bar, like look down on the screen of the Mac, click the Wi-Fi icon and just connect to the TP-Link router, because currently it's connected to
on the Mac.
There's
a touch screen on the
below
the screen.
You might have to do it.
Talk amongst yourselves, boys.
We've already briefly seen this first reel that he's going to show us.
Yeah.
And I'm already a bit frustrated by it.
Yeah.
But
just don't let it get to you.
It's got to me. I overthink these things.
I mean, if it wasn't, no spoilers, but
yeah, after they see it, I'll tell you
If
why.
it wasn't-
All right, here we go.
I just want to eat the food. If it wasn't just like packet food,
Just run on Uber Eats out of my house. The menu consists of whatever I find on sale at Coles at the start of the week. Tonight was lasagna, garlic bread, and arancini bowls. At
got
6
such
o'clock,
an
I chuck the
enthusiastic
pasta
voice.
or whatever dish
I
I'm
love the
serving
slides
in
and
the
the
oven.
mullet.
Either have a nap or do some things around the house. I like to sell the food in sort of combo deals. So tonight, for the lasagna, arancini, and garlic bread, I charged customers $35, and it cost me about $3 or $4 a serve. At around 6:30, I opened the restaurant for orders, and they start flowing in pretty
The
much
math
straight
doesn't
away.
make sense though.
I try to
get
make enough
3
food
serves
for
out
about
of that for
10
$30
orders a
bucks,
night
which is like
to make it
90
worth
bucks.
my time. Ooh, 5-second rule. It does happen sometimes.
Stone man.
Each customer gets 2 slices of
He's
garlic
doing
bread,
that.
a slice of lasagna, and 3 of the arancinis. I ended up getting 10 orders tonight at $35 an order.
There's no way there's
minus
10
the
orders
$30
of
No,
lasagna
of
in
course.
that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Pot, yeah.
I did run out of paper
He's not
bags
making
tonight, so I
300
did
no.
have to
He's making,
send the
unless
order
he's
off
selling
the
his
garbage
lasagna
bag.
for $100
That's
each.
not normal, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Bon appetit.
And he says bon appetit. He didn't even say bon appetit. No, he is comment baiting the entire way through.
Yeah.
It's driving me insane.
Okay, so I literally put that in there because I have so many of these, right? Okay, so many of these come up into my feed, and I'm into business and I like that, and I love creative things, and I think
And you like cooking.
and I like cooking, right?
Yeah,
so
both
it's,
of them.
It's like the algorithm knows me, but I put that in there because I thought you guys get to see what I get to see, but 2, I think that if you actually did that right,
It might work.
it might actually
It
work.
might actually work.
It might actually
Yeah.
work, and I
But
just think
how
that's
he's
fascinating.
how he's actually making his money is not by doing that.
No, it's the social media.
It's by the social media
Yeah,
because
that's right.
the whole way through his comment baiting, he's doing ridiculous things
Yep.
for people to comment about in the comment section.
Mhm.
Needs more
Like
of an
he-
accent.
Like he picks up, like he takes the hot food out of the, like Steve was commenting about this, but he cooks it in the air fryer.
Air fryer, yep.
And then picks it up with his hands like, ow, oh, ah. And then he like drops the garlic bread on the floor and goes, 5-second rule. Like if you were actually making a business out of this, you would never post that because no one would ever buy your food if they seen it, right? He's not making a business out of this. Yeah. It's comment baiting and it annoys me. I watched a video one time of a guy doing a recovery
He cares
in
about
the
it,
snow, right? He's doing a recovery in the snow. And it's like, oh, this is how I do a recovery in the snow when I'm by myself and I come off the track and I get stuck. And he's like in an F-150, right? And so he's like, I drag my winch out and he walks in the snow barefoot. Right? And he's wearing like a red, like little Red Riding Hood hat. Right? And I'm like, dude, why are you doing? You're only doing this. And then I go in the comment section. Everyone's like talking about his feet and his hat. And there's so many comments. I'm like, you people are falling for his trap.
But it's funny how like a certain notable feature of a video is the only thing that people will just latch onto.
That's right.
We posted the video of a snake falling out of our roof, right? I posted that on TikTok. As I stand here, it's almost at 20 million views.
Wow.
And the comments...
He's a millionaire now.
Oh, man. There's actually a little thing in there that says, I'm sorry, but you're in Australia, and so we don't pay out anything to people in Australia. So I was like, how dare you, TikTok?
Why not? They shouldn't be.
They don't have the partner program here that they have, that whatever they call, TikTok calls it, for
they shouldn't
compensating creators.
They shouldn't be allowed to run the app then if they're not paying people.
Anyway, so but of the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of comments that are on there, and like literally at this point, probably the hundreds of video reactions that people have made of my video, all of them say two things. Literally thousands of, but they all just focus on two things. One is them saying, oh, they can have the house is theirs, burn the thing down. Like that's what almost everybody says. And the small subset of people who don't say that, they can hear Sarah like nervous laughter while it's going on. It's like, how are you people in Australia built that way? Like you're just laughing at this stuff, you know? Like
it's just a python.
Yeah, it's just a python. Like what's going on? Yeah. But like you say, that's like very little to do with the video.
I have a message for the people.
Yeah.
If you're watching a reel or a video on YouTube and something absurd happens, it's a trap. Don't mention it in the comments. You're doing exactly what they want.
I just don't comment on anything because I'm lazy. Unless it's like something that I genuinely want to support.
Yeah.
I'm like, good job, guys.
But there's commenters out there that enjoy commenting on things.
Yeah.
And they'll watch something and they'll go, that was a weird thing. I wonder if anyone else, I bet you nobody else noticed that. And so they'll comment about it. Yeah. It's a trap, people.
Are you watching this in 2025? That's another one. It's like, how many thumbs up can that comment get at the top of the YouTube video? Anyway, I like this. I shall leave it there. Anyway, but now I've actually got a video that I do think has some worth and utility. So
let's get to that.
Let's do that, and then we'll move on.
Actually, if you're listening to this on a podcast, that's probably going to seem really random. You didn't hear him.
I did talk a little bit. Once you get to know somebody, are 30,000 feet questions. You get them thinking about their own life. Like if this 5 years is a chapter in life, what's the chapter about? If we met a year from now, what would we be celebrating? What would you do if you weren't afraid? I had a buddy who was being interviewed for a job. After the interview, he turned around and asked the interview, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And she started crying because she wouldn't be doing HR at that company. But she's too afraid to leave. There's a guy named Peter Block who has really deep questions, but you really have to know people while they ask these. What is the no or refusal you keep postponing? What commitments have you made that you no longer believe in? What is the gift you currently hold in exile? What talent do you have that you're not using? These are all questions that are ways to get to know other people.
My favorite questions I start some of those questions, and I thought I would throw some of those in there for people to utilize.
Interesting.
I don't know. Did any of those in particular like stand out to you guys, or?
My brother preached a sermon. I think he entitled it "Live Like You Were Dying," and he based it off of this old country song that my mum used to play when we were kids, and it's about a guy who was dying and he had like a year to live, and so he started living like he was dying, right? So he was like, he went bungee jumping, he went bull riding, he did all of these crazy things because he wasn't afraid anymore to get out there and do something crazy. And it was like the best year of his life. And I think he was like better and he didn't end up dying. And the song's like about, he was saying to his son or his friend or something, like, I just hope that you get the opportunity that
it-
I had to live like you were dying.
Was it Tim McGraw?
Tim McGraw, that's the song. Yeah. Tim McGraw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody's.
Cody's
we-
over
we-
there calling it up on the screen.
We
for
can't
us.
play that though because we won't be. We
won't
get
be
sued, right?
We're not going to be monetized anyways. But yeah, that's fine. We get the point.
You can sing
We
it.
don't know. I don't remember how it
Let's do a
goes.
cover. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a really
Good song. Well, if you're into country music.
If you're into
If you
country.
don't like country music, it's very country.
Mm.
Yeah. My mum went through a country phase when we were kids. So.
I mean, I can appreciate all kinds of music, but I do make it my business to make fun of all my friends that like country music. So.
And he also uses a Mac.
Yes, I do. And some people are just superior in some
Shove
ways.
that in there.
I'm just saying. Two things might be related.
But yeah, that video reminded me of that sermon that my brother preached because it was sort of like,
Yeah,
you know,
what's important.
How would you live if your entire perspective flipped?
Yeah.
You know, like if everything you believed in changed, how would your life change?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you learned that you were dying, how would you change the way you were living? You know, if you learned that the gospel is true and that Jesus died for your sins because he loves you and he's coming back soon, and you truly believed that, how would that change the way that you were living? But anyway, I don't know if that's got anything to do with that video, but that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, no, it's still a valid point. The one that I liked I can't remember the articulation that he used, but one of the ones right at the end. You know, what gift are you keeping in exile? Like,
Yeah, I
what?
like that one.
Yeah, what talent do you have that you're not utilizing? And I thought, oh, that's such a good question because I've spoken to some people and you have them like in your mind, you've got them clearly in this box, and then you find out that they've got this whole other life that you didn't even know they had, that they're not even like executing on any of it right now. You
Yep.
know, I love finding out things like that. Like for you two, maybe just before we transition, what would you say is a gift that you hold in exile? Something?
Probably preaching.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at it, but
Yeah.
I've
I've heard you
only
now.
I've only done. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I did my first sermon like 2 months back,
Uh-huh.
and it went really well.
Mhm.
And
Do you have a date at Hinkley yet?
no,
I can fix that.
Cat's out of the bag, man.
no,
You
no.
don't-
I'll be preaching at Reconnect on the 11th.
Oh, nice. Oh, I'll try to be there.
Yeah, come along. Man.
Wait.
That's
I've
all.
never been to
But, yeah.
Reconnect, so I
It's a lot of fun.
I have felt like I'm too old.
Nah, Shane comes.
Yeah, I know, but his kids are old enough to go.
Shane comes to everything.
Yeah.
And it just makes it okay. If he comes, anyone can
Anyone
come.
can come. Yeah, yeah.
He's not that old, but like, you know what I mean.
No, but yeah,
He's the mentor.
It definitely opens
Yes.
it up.
Yeah. Cool. What about you, Steve? What's yours?
I don't know.
You're not good at blowing your own horn, so I imagine this would be hard for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Gifts and abilities, I think, would be two like different things. Like I'm able to play music, I just don't like doing it, and it's a lot of work for me. So it's like I don't know. It's kind of a gift, but not really.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know if we're talking like spiritual stuff, but
Either.
yeah, in general, I don't know. I pretty much just do stuff. I don't like. I don't stop doing stuff or like deliberately not do things. I don't know.
You are such an enigma.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah, it really is. Like, we have these conversations. Last time you're over, and I'm like, don't you ever think about like this big? I can't even remember how I articulated, but like this big picture kind of thing, and you're like, nope. Like it's like, I'm like, if I don't think about that, like I don't get out of bed in the morning. Like I need all of like the big picture realities to make my life make sense. Otherwise I'm non-functional. So I admire the fact that you can still do life without having that.
I probably do, just differently. I
Yes,
don't know.
yeah.
I've contemplated eternity to the point where I think I understand it. And people always say, well, we're humans, so we'll never be able to understand what eternity is. And I'm like, let me explain it to you.
For me, it's just tomorrow. Like I don't know. It's not a whole lot. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a big picture matters, but it's like, oh well, today's today. We'll
Yeah.
just- I know what I have to do today, so I'll just do that.
I have that like when I think about death, because I went through a phase of like I just really struggled with the idea of death and the idea that like assuming the second coming doesn't occur in my lifetime, and I don't have Enoch DNA going on, like I'm gonna die, and like what that's gonna be like, and like I had a season where I really struggled with that, and I was praying and asking God to help me navigate that, and this idea, really strong idea, just came to me, and it's been my go-to ever since, which is actually this is going to sound very Steve. It's a Steveism.
Steveism.
I probably will, but today is not that day.
Yeah.
And so, like, I can live in faith and joy and gratitude because today is not that day, and there's going to be thousands of exactly. I'm only going to have to worry about that for one day of my entire life, and like when I realized that, I found that so liberating.
Yeah. Don't worry about it now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are dead before they realize they're dying anyway. So.
Oh, so powerful. Yeah, for sure. I've seen people that have been dead for years and they're still going to work.
Well, I had that thought though when he's like,
That's not what I meant at all.
Really? It's not.
Point. No, I mean like you said, that's a way deeper point. When you said, deep, I was like, was it? Okay. What I meant was, don't worry, yours was better.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm still genuinely curious though.
What I meant was, because you said that I'm only going to have to worry about dying for one day of my life. And I was like, but a lot of people, like, they die like that. And they don't realize that they're dying. And so they don't have to worry about dying.
Second thing.
Yeah. Like if you just had like a massive car accident and you just were dead instantly, you wouldn't know that you were dying. You'd just be dead. So you don't have to worry about dying. A lot of people don't worry about dying at all,
Yeah.
So that's what I meant, which is not as deep, but yours was good. I should have just taken credit for it.
Yeah, you should have. Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly what I meant. No.
Cool. Well, anyway, let's talk about growth. So, as I said, as we're getting into the new year, like we all want to grow. How do you think about spiritual growth? What even is spiritual growth? Let's start there.
Well, I was having an interesting conversation with my brother over the Christmas break. We were talking about perfection. And I was saying, he was like, what do you think perfection is? Because I'd said something about it that he disagreed with. And I was like, well, perfection is the pinnacle, right? If you're perfect, then you're at the top. And if anything becomes higher than you, then you're no longer perfect, because that is perfect. And I was kind of making the point that I talked to you about this a few months back about like, we weren't created as perfect as what Lucifer was created, because Lucifer's described as being perfect, and when we were created, we're described as being very good, right? Which is something I talked to you about, which is something that was bouncing around my head, and he was like, that's actually a Greek interpretation of perfection. So when the Bible uses the word perfection, the Hebrew idea of perfection is constantly improving.
Okay.
So if you're here now and you're always getting better, then that's perfection. And if you fall, well, this is just my little bit that I'm going to throw in, but if you fall and get back up and fall and get back up and fall and get back up, well, that's righteousness, right? But perfection is you're consistently improving and you're consistently growing. We're talking about growth, you know? And so I would say that if you reach that point of spiritual growth where you're always spiritually growing and you're never falling, then you've reached perfection. That's the biblical interpretation of perfection.
I like that. I mean, I don't have chapter and verse to validate per
yeah,
se,
well, I mean, I never studied theology at Avondale, but my brother did. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that seems to make a lot of sense, because
it really made, I was like, it makes so much more sense now. Because a lot of people struggle with the idea of perfection in the Bible. And it's just talking about growth. Yeah. But constant growth. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, now my brain's just like running through all of the circumstances of my life and how that applies now.
Yeah.
But I love that. I do.
Yeah.
So how do you consciously do that then? Like, obviously, you know, in that context, you're saying you're not falling off the path. Okay, sure. But how do you, wherever you are on that ladder, so to speak, as you progress, what are the things that are required to progress? Like, let me while you chew on that a little bit. Like, here are some of the things that I think about, because as I was considering this before, I struggled at first because I'm thinking, well, growth, there's some degree of intentionality, but there's also some degree of gift, right? There's the two sides to that, because we believe in righteousness by faith, and that cannot occur without God empowering us, right? Like that's his work. We do the work of receiving it, but we're not doing the work of actually doing the perfecting. Jesus is the author and the finisher of our faith, right? It's his thing. And so I started thinking about like what those two buckets, I guess you could say, have in them. And on the gift side of it, there's the righteousness by faith aspect to it. But I was also thinking about Romans 8, where it talks about adoption. Right, when we're adopted by God, God is the one that's accepting us. We're not earning that adoption. We're not doing anything. So that's like also in the gift part of it. So just being in proximity to God and being His child, that will naturally lead to growth. But on the other hand, the active part of growth is, I think it's twofold. There's the active skill acquisition, right? Getting better at something, it's like a muscle. You have to do it repetitively in order to experience benefit. But there's also the experience component of doing things with God, doing the things that God would do, collaborating with Him. So you get to experience, taste and see that the Lord is good. And I think when you assemble those principles, then growth can occur. I don't think we have to think about it like that, but I was just trying to dissect it.
I agree. This ties perfectly into my turbocharger analogy.
Here we go.
So I always like to compare your spiritual walk to a turbo, right? And a turbo works off of itself. So Cody's brought up the turbocharger right there. So you can see the compressor inlet. That's your intake, right? So air goes in there, and the air goes in there, and then it goes down through the engine. You see the engine down the bottom, and it comes out the exhaust. And as it goes out the exhaust, it goes through the turbine exhaust, right? And it spins the turbine as it goes through. And when it spins that turbine, it spins the inlet turbine, because they're connected by that rod, right? And so as that one spins, it spins this one, which ends up actually sucking the air. And as when that air gets sucked, it goes through the engine and ends up blowing on that exhaust turbine. And when that gets blown on, it spins faster, which makes it suck harder. And when it sucks harder, it blows harder,
faster,
which spins it faster, which makes it suck harder. And the longer it runs, the more the air is just it just builds up and builds up and builds up until you either blow the engine up, or you have to open what's called a wastegate, and you have to let excess air out so that it holds that process at a stable point. I like to compare the spiritual walk to that, right? If you say prayer is your inlet manifold, your intake, sorry.
Yep.
Prayer is your intake. We'll say Bible study is the intercooler. And then witnessing with others is your exhaust.
Yeah.
Right? And when you pray and you study the Bible, that causes you to want to share.
Yeah.
And when you share, that causes you to want to pray and study more, right? Because prayer is just talking to God, and studying is just God talking to you. So that's how you have a conversation with God. You pray. I've said this before on the podcast. You pray, you talk to God, and then He talks to you. So your relationship with Christ causes you to want to witness, right? This is what the disciples say. How can we not but share what we know? Because they had that relationship with Christ and they were filled with the Holy Spirit. And so these two sides, they build on each other.
Yep.
They build and then they build. And then the more this happens, the more this happens. And the more that happens, it causes this to happen stronger. And it just goes crazy, right? And you see this in people's lives when we say this person is on fire for the Lord, right? And they've been building boost, right? Because that's what it's called.
Boosted Christians.
Yeah, boosted Christians, right? I call it turbocharging your life,
Yeah.
right? You turbocharge yourself with Christ.
You should preach on this.
I did a class with my teens when I was down for the Christmas holidays, and I based it on this idea.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it ended up going for like 5 minutes, and then I was out of material, so I don't know if I could preach on it. But anyway, it's a very good
children's story.
analogy, and I would like to take this exact slide, and then I'd like to change all of the labels? Into something else.
You should.
And just flip it and say, here we go.
Yeah.
Because it'd be good if we got a video of a turbocharged engine on a dyno just going.
That's a short right there.
Because it really illustrates the point that, as the air coming in spins this one, it spins the other one, which makes it suck the air in harder, which makes it blow. And it's the same.
See if you can find one, Cody.
It's the same as your spiritual growth.
Yeah.
Just search engine dyno full boost. Yeah.
Boosty.
Full boosty. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Can you go to like shorts or something? Because this will be like try and play your 10-minute video.
It got longer.
Can we go on YouTube?
Yeah.
We're still figuring this all out.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, just go to you're in Google. So copy the search terms that you got there, and just then go to YouTube itself and search in the YouTuber. Yeah. Anyway, good.
But yeah, like what I was saying, pardon me, about the people that you say these people are on fire, right? It's because this process has taken place, right? And you say, man, they are sharing the gospel with everybody they speak to, right? And I would say that perfection is when you reach that point where the boost is continually building, but the engine never blows, right?
Yep.
Or the wastegate never opens. It's just always building until you're just gone, fully crazy.
Yeah, you can probably take shorts off since you're already in YouTube. So, but I think we're here now. I think we've actually found it. You can click shorts and the sort filter at the top. Yep, there it is.
There we go. Yeah, that one worked.
That car looks mad.
I think this is going to be a rotary. Yeah, it is a rotary. Right. It gives the engine so much power by forcing air through it.
Yep.
Right? And when you force the Holy Spirit through you, it gives you so much power.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a great car guy analogy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a really good analogy.
Screaming down the quarter mile.
And by the way, your sound effects.
Wastegate fully open. Just.
Your sound effects would be even better than the actual real thing, I'm sure. Wow.
Yeah, that's my turbo analogy.
Yeah. Well, an extra one that I would throw in there, I don't know if you guys heard that, but that thunder was pretty cool.
That was close.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, what I was going to say is the other thing that I think in there is stirring up your gift, like utilizing your gift. Like Paul writes to Timothy when he says, stir up the gift that is within you. I think that's a really vital part of growth, because I know for me, when I'm not consciously using my gifts that God's given, I find it a lot harder. Like it's a lot harder to grow if you're not participating in that way. Because if you're only, and I guess that comes into the witnessing category, right? Like at the end of the turbo process, you're using those gifts, in ministry. It doesn't have to be witnessing necessarily, but ministry. You're utilizing.
It's not really the end of the turbo. It's sort of where it starts.
Yeah.
because the exhaust has to spin. Anyway, I'm going to nerd out on turbos and stuff, but yeah. But it all works together. There's no this, then this, then this. It's all of it has to be going on at the same time.
Irreducibly complex.
That's right. It all has to be going on at the same time, because if you take one aspect out, it falls apart. You've got the three, right? You've got prayer, you've got reading the Bible, and you've got sharing the word. If you take one of those out and you just get prayer and reading the Bible, you get a stagnant Christian who has a relationship with Christ but never shares it with anybody, right? If you take reading the Bible out and you've just got prayer and witnessing, well, then you've got bad theology, right? You've got someone who loves Jesus and shares Jesus with everybody but doesn't know what they're talking about, right? If you take, what's the other one I take out? You take
prayer.
You take prayer out, right? You take you've just got reading the Bible and sharing the word. Well, then it's empty, right? Because you've got someone who knows the Bible, but they don't know Jesus. And so they're sharing the Bible, but they're not sharing Jesus. So you have to have all three. Otherwise, you have no boost.
So what would be the biggest barriers to growth, do you think? Is it just the absence of one of those things, or is there more to it? Are there other things, bad, can you get a load of bad fuel? Like, what are the other barriers that you think to growing?
I don't know.
Well, is there anything that can stop you growing?
Yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think, let's look at it this way. Talk about the person who's on fire for Christ, right? We all have seen this person who's on fire for Christ, and eventually they're no longer on fire for Christ, right? I don't think I know anybody who I've known for a long time and they've never stopped being on fire for Christ. So what is the thing that extinguishes that flame, I guess, is the question you're asking. Like, I've been on fire for Christ, at several times in my life. And I wish that I could always be at that point. And I guess the other question is, how do I get back to that point? Like, do you just, you go to big camp and you're like fired up for like a week, and then you go home and it's just gone.
I think I'm with you, Steve. Like, I think the only thing that can really get in our way is ourselves. Like, I think life can get hard, and I know there have been times where my experience with God has looked very different, but sometimes the times where my life is the worst are actually the times where my experience with God is the best.
I just listened to a bunch of sermons on Job.
He said, that's a good idea. And see, that's something that you can do. And I feel like God plays his part, and he never fails to play his part in our spiritual growth. But we have to play our part as well, and it's that fine line between, salvation by grace and salvation by works. But it's like, well, once you're in that relationship with Christ, you can't just you can't be Jesus take the wheel all the time. You've got to alternate drivers. That's a bad analogy, but like, we have to play our part. And what you just said, Steve, you're like, oh, well, if I'm feeling this way, then I'll go and I'll listen to a sermon on Job, and I feel like you just got to go and do your part. You've got, no relationship can continue to flourish without communication. So if you're not building your relationship with Christ, then your fire is going to burn out. And it's something I struggle with a lot. A lot. And I have to put myself in these places where, like, oh, well, I want to run this class every week at church that way. It forces me to go into the Bible and read and pray and get ready so I don't let these people down.
I do teens.
Yeah, that's the only. It's not the only reason.
I care about the kids, but like, it's like I need to
for you.
be doing something. Otherwise, I'm going to be doing nothing.
That's right. That's a
And-
big reason I used to do it as well.
Yeah, and I do care about the kids a lot, but like that's why I run teens. Like that's not why I do what I do in teens, but that's why
That's
hold
why you
that position.
agree to the position. Yeah,
It's-
that's right.
Yeah, and it's good.
Yeah,
I think that
it's not a bad
is
thing.
very good.
I taught Sabbath school for a really long time for that very reason, and I burned out for not because of Sabbath school, like not because of teaching that class, but I just couldn't do it anymore, and so I stopped doing it for a couple of years, and I definitely feel like that was, I feel like it was necessary, but I definitely felt like that I took a hit. A spiritual hit as a result of not doing it, and so this year I'm not on a roster, but I've started teaching again.
What burnt you out though?
Life,
So everything that was going on.
everything, just like
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things. I had to pick something to get rid of, and it was either table talk, it was either this or it was Sabbath school because I didn't have enough room for both, and there was always going to be another person who could teach. Whereas there wasn't necessarily another person that could run this, you know. So,
That's a great analogy for the person who's on fire. Is they burn out.
yeah.
What burns them out? Or things get in the way. Distractions. You know.
Yeah. And there's a difference also
Tiredness.
between getting burnt out in the work and getting burnt out from the work. And I think that's really important to know the difference, because if you get burned out from
deep.
the work, that's not a good thing. That says that you're doing something that's bad, that's non-sustainable, that God never called you to do.
Yep.
Whereas if you get burned out in the work, then you're just living your life out. You're just giving, right? You're just giving as much of your energy to God as you can. And, you can eventually, you need to look after yourself, but you're getting tired and then you have a rest, but that's a part of the cycle of rest and renewal. But yeah, if you actually burn yourself out, so you can't come back from that, God never intended. He never asked you to do
Well,
that.
I got to a place similar when I was running the teen class where for 2 months straight, every class I ran was I have to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd reached, and I realized I had to look at it and go, okay, why is my fire burnt out? What am I missing? And I realized that I was missing prayer.
Yeah.
And so I had the other two.
Yep.
I had study and witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that place of, well, I'm sharing the word, but I'm not sharing the love,
Yeah.
and that'll burn you out real quick.
That's right.
Right? And so
You broke the loop, the circuit.
Yeah, you broke the circuit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you had a boost leak.
Yep.
It's all going out the exhaust manifold. It's not doing anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like we can call this the turbo episode.
Well, it's just such a good analogy. I love it so much. If you understand how a turbo works, it's just like, this is exactly the same.
So I got one more question, and I think we've touched on it a little bit here, but I want us to wrap a little bit more into it. What is the role of community in spiritual growth?
Like fellowship, you mean? Yeah. That's a good question.
I think that's partly why Big Camp's such a high.
Mm.
And I think it's more important than we give it credit for, because it's like, oh, I need to read my Bible, I need to pray, and I need to be sharing with other people, and all those things are true. But when you're accountable and vulnerable with the people around you, I don't know, it takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's right. You can tell yourself, I need to pray, I need to study, I need to share. But if someone else tells you, you need to pray, you need to study, you need to share, it makes a bigger impact.
Yeah.
And even
Is that-
bigger
is that a sort
if
of-
someone's actually doing all those things and you get to see the difference that makes in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say you should,
We're
this
doing
is,
it with them.
This is what I do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, doing it together in collaboration. Yeah, community.
But doing this with you guys is really good as well.
yeah. Yes.
And that's where that fellowship comes in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Because this gets me fired up for the gospel every Thursday night while I'm driving home. I'm like,
Yeah.
who can I talk to? But
Yeah.
it's always the start of my weekend, so I don't see many people. But
Yeah. But so true. This is I enjoy church and that's great, but yeah, this is my spiritual highlight of the week, so that, it affords that ability to have the deep conversations. And like you say, the fact we record it causes you to be that little bit more intentional about your
100%.
your thinking and what you're saying. And
I hear so many podcasters say that. They go, the best conversations I ever have is while we're recording.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's very true.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
even when
purposely.
we come in here and I sit down in front of the microphone, I feel like the conversation
something
gets
on.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Even if
does.
it's not on.
Yep.
But anyway,
But
sidetrack.
that's one of those things, like you have a certain place or location like for work or for sleep. That's why you shouldn't have phones or TVs in your bedroom, because that place is for a certain thing and you want your brain to be programmed for that. And so I think that the studio, there's a bit of that happening as well.
Good point.
Yeah.
Cool. So did anyone else want to have...
So wait. The
Yeah.
fellowship thing.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's right. We started there.
I feel like we haven't talked about that
Yes, you're
strongly
right.
enough, because there's so much to that, and the Bible says not to neglect the gathering of ourselves together. And the Bible says that where 2 or 3 are gathered, I am also with them. And so I think that that's a big thing, where if you spend time in the presence of God, then you're going to spiritually grow. And if there's 2 or 3 gathered in his name, then he's with them. He's with us now. There's 4 of us here
he's-
gathered in his
He's
name.
the extra seat at the table, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference, I think. To not, don't neglect the gathering of yourselves together.
Yeah.
And always know that God's there with you when you're gathered together in his name.
I think another real, hugely valuable portion of that is that when you are together, we all do it, right? You see something, you hear an idea from scripture or something someone shared, and we get together and it's like, oh, okay, I heard this. What do you think about this? And that can go one of a few ways. Sometimes it can be like, yeah, that sounds really cool.
Well, we're doing that just before
before.
we started recording. We were talking about a theory I'd heard about the small gate in the big gate being the eye of the needle.
Yes.
And that's what
The
rich
parable.
people find.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Emerson's like, I think it's baloney.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then we researched it, and it's baloney.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good
I said, I've heard that someone said it's baloney.
Baloney,
and then
yeah.
when we
We
researched it,
fact-checked
and
it.
somebody said that it was baloney. So
yeah.
it could be true.
It
I
was
don't
from
think
Oxford,
it is.
so it's legit. You got to believe them.
Yeah, but that's a great example. It's like, and I know it's not exactly peer review, but it's in a sense it's peer review, right? It's the fact that
Well, it's literally what it is.
yeah, we get to fact check each other, and if I say an idea, and I'm in a room with 4 people, and that's like 4x the experience that we can draw from to identify whether what I've said is or what I've heard is true or not. And I think
So
people that tend to-
if 4 people have the same bad theology,
then it becomes true.
then it becomes
That's a
true.
cult.
Right?
That's a cult.
Yeah, well, I see that happen with Christian friends they're like, I'm leaving the church because the church is corrupt. I'm going to do church at home with my family. And then you watch this family slowly get
Dragged out.
crazier and crazier, and they have all these wild ideas.
Yes.
Where'd you get all these wild ideas from?
Perfect example.
Well, they stopped going to church.
Yeah.
And so all of the craziness that they were coming up with wasn't getting
Filtered.
out.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's important that we all, for that reason alone.
Yeah. No, I've 100% seen that. There was a family that I used to study with, and I said to them, and they had some really odd ideas, like genuinely strange. And I said to the father, and I said, can I just ask you a question? Like, you've been studying and you've had this perspective for a long time. He's like, oh yeah, like decades, And I said, have you ever, is there a church that you have found that you agree with or that you're a part of? And he's like, oh, no one. Not even my friends agree with me. I have, there is zero corroboration that I've had from anyone in, my entire spiritual experience. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So that doesn't ring any alarm bells. I understand that the truth is often found in the minority, right? Because I understand groupthink and I get it. But if one person has been studying for 30 years,
You're not a minority, you're alone.
yeah, yes. There's got to be that point where you're like, is it me? So yes, I think there's that fact checking, peer review element. I think there's the encouragement thing because I know some of the hardest parts of my life. You know, the guys that have been around me at this table have been the biggest supports when I've had it the worst. And I don't think I would have allowed them to, I don't think I would have allowed you guys to be close enough to support me if we hadn't had so many of these conversations, right?
Wow.
Where we built that. And that's like, I can't, no way I could even put a number of this is that valuable. Like it's just beyond any of that. So yeah,
Creates a good community. And that's why we're trying to encourage people to do what we're doing.
Yes.
To
Exactly.
do these small group Bible studies and
just do
discussions,
life as
just
well.
get together and hang
Yeah.
out, fellowship, break
Yes.
bread.
Because, I mean, you guys hear us when we're at the table having these conversations, but what you don't hear is on Saturday nights when we're playing board games or, like doing other stuff or going for a walk on the beach. Like, we are in each other's world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, do you guys have anything else that you wanted to say specifically around this topic before we sew up this part of the show?
Turbocharge your lives, people.
Yeah.
Get some boost into ya.
Boosted Christians. That's what we
Boosted
wanna be.
Christians.
Yes.
Oh no.
It's good.
Cool. So, and just on that last point, for you guys that are listening, if you are not yet, like you don't have a group of people around your table and you want to do that, even if you're not there yet, like just go, okay, hey, I'm going to reach out to one person. And you don't have to have like a deep relationship. But I think if you look around for the right people, there'll be other people in your sphere that are looking for it, right? There's always going to be somebody that wants to have those conversations. Sure. So the next thing that I wanted to share is I said we were going to have stories from the community, the table tribe. And before this episode, I put a message out on our Instagram and I just said, hey, if anyone wants to share anything, like now's the time, send it in. And
Your one and only chance.
yeah, well, at least until next week. But so two people shared. One came in which was audio, and one came in that was text. So I'll read the text one first, and then Cody, I'll get you to play the audio one that came in. The text one that came in was from Mick, and he's been listening to the show for a really long time. I actually know him from church, and he's a truck driver, so he has a lot of hours to consume content. And when we don't release regularly, he tells me how disappointed he is. So, Mick, when you're listening to this, thank you so much for being probably one of the people who's listened to more of us yammer on than like anybody else for a very, very long time. So he said, I've been listening. I've been an ATT listener for quite some time and pretty much enjoy listening to them. Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I love that. Pretty much enjoy listening to them. I've had the urge for a few years to do some sort of ministry, but I'm not a good preacher and I get nervous if I'm standing in front of a lot of people. And a podcast, well, it's not really my thing either, but it's great to listen to. So I decided I'd start my own YouTube and TikTok channels where I try to upload at least one Bible study or short talk once a week. I don't get much results or feedback on YouTube, but there seems to be a lot more on TikTok. Why do I do it? Because I want to share the happiness that I've found in Jesus with everyone so they can have the same.
Wow.
Mick.
Nice.
Awesome. Praise
Yeah.
God for Mick.
Yeah,
That's cool.
absolutely. Mick, you are a legend. And I admire the fact that, and I don't know if you guys have seen his content, but when he posts it, he's like doing it in the cab of the truck, I don't know if it's at the end of his shift or when he's stopped having a break or whatever. And so it's cool. He is committed. No matter what's going on, he's putting stuff out.
I'm gonna watch that. I want to see him. I want to see his videos. That
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
really,
cool.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. And yeah, the other one come from a new member of our community, and she was just sharing ways that God is leading in her life. So Cody, let's roll that one.
And at the end of the course, you have to do an internship.
You may have to go back to the beginning of
And I
that.
prayed to God and said, "Hello, everyone. I hope you are all fine." A funny thing that happened to me recently was that I'm studying administration and human resources, and at the end of the course, you have to do an internship. And I prayed to God and said, "Where do you want me to go?" I said the prayer, and after a while, thinking about it again, I'm Portuguese, a Portuguese union came to my mind, and I was like, they probably won't respond because they are so busy, but let's give it a try. So I sent an email, and they responded. They said they had an opportunity, and I was really thrilled. Long story short, I had a call today with the Treasury, and he asked me if I thought about the union because of the GPS program. In Portuguese, GPS stands for Geração para Servir, which translates to Generation for Serving. And I was confused, to be honest, because I didn't know what he was talking about. I had heard about it in the last Sabbath when the president gave his annual sermon, but I didn't know what the program was for. So he said that I was in an internship and that I was part of the program. So after the call, I went to do some research about it, and basically it's a program the union offers when you are a student and you just finish your course, or you want to do a Sabbath year, or you are in an internship, and you have the opportunity to work with this church and its departments to serve God and His kingdom, so the gospel can go forward. I was really amazed. I didn't know about it, but God knew, and He wanted me there.
Cool. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Answer to prayer.
Yeah, that is an answer to prayer. So thank
That's
you
cool.
for sharing that. She actually showed up in our Discord server, which our Discord server is very, very quiet. But please, if anyone wants to come and make it not so quiet, yes, by all means, come and join us.
You can make turbo noises in there.
Yes, come and make turbo noises. But I don't think she mentioned her name. Her name's Daniela. And yeah, she popped in there, and so I've had a couple of conversations with her. She's been doing a course. She mentioned the course that she's doing, but she's looking to get into being a virtual assistant. And as she said, she lives in Portugal. And she was just really lovely to talk to. And so when I put that message out there, and she was like the first person that jumped in. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll share something." I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." So she's like a very new member of our active community.
That's
anyway.
awesome.
So
We'll have to pin her up on the map.
yeah, that'd be cool. So
Yeah.
we'll do that. So yeah, if you guys want to share anything, answer to prayer, or if you're starting up a group yourself, or whatever you might want to share, feel free to let us know. We'd love to chat about that. But
Absolutely.
we're gonna bring this particular session, the first of 2025, to a close. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen. So
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
we will catch you guys.
Good to be back.
Oh, it's so good. I've missed this. But we will catch you guys next week and look forward to it. So until then, God bless.